Welcome to the Redline Sales and Business Podcast, featuring co-presenters Ron, the Banksy of LinkedIn and founder at Javelin Content Management and Chief Marketing Officer at Ideas Exchange, and Shane, CEO and founder at Ideas Exchange. Each week we'll bring you advice, tips, and thoughts about sales, leadership, and share our experience on growing an effective business. Meet guests, enjoy the stories, and most importantly, have fun. This is Redline.
And welcome to this week's Redline podcast, episode, believe it or not, 9. Fantastic. I'm on my own today. It's always good. So Dominik, who's our guest today, I've literally just met him about 10 minutes ago. And it's great fun. I enjoy doing this sort of thing. I do a lot of networking. Dominik, it's great to have you on the show. Thanks very much for coming along.
Yeah, Paul, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've had some amazing traction on the show so far. We've had some fantastic guests. You've got some big shoes to fill, if I'm honest. I'm hoping you're up to it. As we say in the previous episodes, right, this is all about two sets of people, right? One is the CEOs and founders who we want to help them drive their business up to 1 million ARR. And it's about enabling sales people, whether that's SDRs, AEs, team leaders, whoever, to adjust their growth mindset to get them to that next level, to take their career and put it on a rocket ship trajectory. So we're all about learnings and failings. We're all about opinions that are different from the norm. And if there's one thing I know about sales and marketing, it's that the only danger is in sitting inside the status quo and not really thinking outside the box. So for anybody who's watching along, Dominik, it would be good to hear a little bit about the origins of where you're at now. So you're at Me2Go. Like, how did that come about? Why did you decide to start your own business?
I think the whole journey started about 8 or 9 years ago when I was still in university. I was studying business administration. And I always wanted to become a business consultant, basically somewhere at McKinsey or BCG. That's what I wanted to be. But when I did my first internship, I realized that this is completely off and it's not for me. I was sitting there in a suit, it was like 35 degrees outside. Inside it was about the same. It was not really cool there. And I had to transcribe basically in an old book into an Excel, which I was doing for 8 hours every day. And after 2 days, I wanted to quit. And at some point, the CEO came to all the interns and asked if we have some experience in web design. And I had it because I tried to do some like a photographer platform before, but I didn't know any photographer and I didn't know anyone that needs one. Yeah. So it was a fail. But I learned the web design skill. So at least something, right? Yeah. And that's how my marketing career started. And I created all the websites for this CEO, basically, because he had some local breweries. He had also other companies. I created all the websites for him, for some hotels as well. And then we realized, okay, those websites are great, but they don't have that much traffic. And we started doing SEO, search engine optimization, to get the traffic going. Mm-hmm. And this was quite easy back in the days in Germany, I have to say, because the whole search engine land, I would say, was mainly focused on English, and all the German terms were very, very easy to rank for. So that was kind of good back in the days. Now it's a little bit harder, but it's still easier in Germany, interestingly. And that's how it started out in this whole like tech online community. And at some point, a friend of mine reached out to me, and his dad owns a big enterprise company in Germany in the automotive industry. And we started to create a workplace booking app for them with our team for about 5 years. And at some point we realized, okay, we need our own product. We had to book many meetings with the developers from the enterprise and from our side. And it was a hassle. So we decided to write a tool for it. And that was the beginning of MeetErgo, basically like a GDPR compliant Calendly alternative. Because in the automotive industry and enterprise, there is a lot of GDPR compliance. They really, really care about it, about their secrets. They don't want to get the data leaked or anything like that. So yeah, we built it. And at some point, we just took the money that we saved up and went full in with MeetErgo. That's how it started. And that's when we realized we suck at sales. And that really, really hard. We sucked really, really hard. Coming back to sales, right?
But that's really honest. I appreciate that. And I think I probably went the other route, right? So I started in sales and realised I sucked at sales,
Yeah.
and then moved across into marketing. Do you know what I think is really interesting? I've said this before on the show. Is I think that a lot of people who have been forced to sit in both worlds of marketing and sales, it kind of gives you a superpower over everybody else, right? Because everybody else only views things from a sales perspective or a marketing perspective, and I think they've only got half the story. Is that something you'd agree with?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, 100%. I don't get it how companies can produce content, like the marketing team produces content that is not resonating or resonating in a different way than sales is intending it to do. And I don't get it how they do it. Like, do they don't speak to each other? Like, I don't get it. And if you talk to companies, most of the companies don't even have any data-driven approach to this at all. They just
Yeah.
produce the content, and if they get more sales or whatever, they don't know why. It's good,
Yeah.
but there's no correlation or anything between this, and they are not actually measuring it. And this is something that shocked me at some point because I couldn't believe it. In SEO and search engine optimization, everything is tracked, all the conversions, all the clicks. But then there is a break off from marketing to sales. And this is something that we started to tackle with our software as well, because we realized that there is a big pain if companies are starting to scale and the teams get bigger and it's not the same person anymore.
Yep. Or all of a sudden you've got somebody to do the job full time as opposed to somebody whose job is to actually do something else, which was I was that guy for 3 years. That's fascinating. So I guess what I imagine it was really a hard moment when you decided you wanted to do that, because I can't imagine. Did you have the technical skill set to be able to build the platform yourself, or did you have to take a decision to pay for somebody else to come in and build the technical?
Yeah, I mean, we were coming from this tech background. We had the whole team, we had everything. So that was the easy part about all of this. So the tech was really, really easy to do. The marketing, the website was easy as well. But what wasn't easy was the messaging and the whole sales process, the whole approach, how to combine the marketing with sales. That was something that really broke our neck in the beginning. Because, I mean, it's just one example, right? But we're using our own appointment booking tool on our website. And many, many freelancers book meetings. And they just book meetings for like support questions at some point. And, even like students book meetings to use the tool for free. And it doesn't make any sense to talk to these people. But I realized this after 3 months, I guess. So 3 months talking to freelancers, it helped because we get a little bit of product validation and stuff like that. But we realized that actually this is not the way to do it, because we are losing way too much time and we are not making any profit on it, which I think is still an issue for many, many SaaS companies right now.
I agree. I mean, like one of the things I do is around helping businesses build their brand. And, again, one of the questions I get is, so how many leads are you going to generate for me in the next 30 days? It's not going to generate your leads. Stop talking about leads. It's about building your brand, right? But the outcome of building the brand is that people know who you are before they come and talk to you. And that, to me, is really, really important. I think it's really hard to grasp that until you've had it actually happen and you've seen the difference it makes when people understand your product before they come and talk to you, so that you get rid of a lot of the, what I call tire kickers, right? People who were never really interested, to your point. And it's that wasted time of sitting for, half an hour at a time, talking to 10 people a day, 8 of which had no intention of buying your product in the first place. And people, I get a lot of people asking me, like, how do you get rid of, how do you deter those people? And my point is, by the time they've got to your tool and they're already booking in, it's too late to deter them. You should have deterred them before, through your social media or through your website or however you should be doing that. You really want to kind of tell them who you are and who you're not before that point. Is that something that you guys have found? I mean, you talk about the messaging. How did you refine the messaging to make it better? What sorts of things did you do to get there?
Yeah, I mean, our biggest issue is that our tool can be used by a very broad group of people or businesses, whatever. So everyone can use it. You can use it for your personal, for your own calendar. You can use it for your business. but you can use it as a consultant. You can even use it as a barber or anything like that. But we were really thinking about how can we find an ICP that we can approach and that will really benefit from our product while still having like a relatively broad messaging on the website, so that our SEO efforts don't really get to waste, because we got many leads from SEO and the people actually could sign up and upgrade on their own without us talking to them. This is what's happening right now. So it's like a product-led growth approach. And the hard part was to identify at which point we split it and how we how we approach it, right? So what we are doing now is for all the solo users, all the freelancers, we just send them to the sign up, and with the messaging, most of them start with the blog posts, let's say, that focus on the alternatives or other solutions, or if the blog post is specifically made for freelancers, they read this blog post. And then what we do is when they sign up, we create a special freelancer account for them where they have an academy where they can improve their whole like sales skills, like finding the ICP, getting the message out, and then validating it, how to structure the sales calls, discovery calls. This is something we are teaching them. And as you were talking about brand building, I realized that this helped us maintain this personal connection, this human level, but still, without even having to talk to them. That was the interesting part we figured out, because we created many videos and explained how our software is working, like webinars and stuff like that. And this is working. But you are right. People reach out to you if they are about 70% done with the buying journey. That's when they reach out. If they have done their research, then they want to talk to sales. And this is what we were messing up at the beginning as well, because we didn't realize it. So what we did is we showed them our tool and all the features that we got, but we completely neglected that they already went through 70% of the buying process, and that they only talk to us because they have some questions, maybe some negotiation that they couldn't find out on their own. And this is something very valuable that you need to find out really quick. And also with the messaging as well. So for us, the most important thing was to get some data and to validate messaging really, really fast. So who should we talk to? How much time do we need to talk to them until they buy something? And do we need to talk to them at all? That were some KPIs that we were focusing on.
Yeah. So like a really data-driven approach to their buy-in journey, right? And I imagine you only found a lot of that through like really good work on discovery calls and asking the right questions, because you're right. You've at some point you've got to take a step back from actually doing the discovery calls to that more senior level to go, why are we having so many calls that aren't converting, and how can we, like, I guess a lot of businesses see that as a problem, right? And it is a problem, but it's also a gift. It's also a gift. Like, I've spent quite a lot of time in the customer service and customer experience industry, right? It's a gift. You've got to see it that way, and you've got to be quick enough to get on top of that, to capitalize and say, actually, yes, we're having a lot of pain in this area, but that tells us something. We've got to listen to what the data's showing us, what the teams are telling us, and make sure you've got that feedback loop in. Because if you don't have the connection with your sales team, and you're not regularly talking to them about anything other than how many meetings have you booked this week, then you're gonna miss that, right? And I think a lot of businesses just focus on really the wrong metrics. And I'll talk about this a lot. Is if you target people on the wrong metrics, you're going to drive your business in the wrong direction. Focus on the things that matter. So, like, what are the metrics that you guys value most now in terms of that sales process? What are the, I don't know, I guess the top 3 things that you ask your sales team to focus on when they're chatting with customers?
We are focusing on the awareness that we are building. So how big is the awareness that we can build in the first place? That's the first thing we check. So how big of a brand awareness do we have? How known is our brand? Because in the beginning, that wasn't a big topic for us, but now we realize that the better the brand awareness is, the more the people know about us, the more they know about our USPs, like GDPR compliance, like, this whole sales coaching that we have inside our app, or marketing coaching. All of this provides a lot of trust. And once we have this trust, the other process goes on really, really fast, because building the trust takes up the most time. So we try to, build this trust in the beginning of the funnel, in the top of the funnel. with videos which we will be implementing on the website, like use case videos, YouTube videos, or even podcasts like this, right?
Yeah.
Or case studies, blog posts. That's what we want to do to build up the trust in the first place, so we can, I mean, change the work a little bit up. So we put the hard work in the beginning and then we move on. So what we do after this is we check how many people visit our website, how many of those book a meeting, how many of those sign up. And then when we are inside the product, our most important metrics are how many people book the first meeting with themselves. Most of people book the first meeting with themselves. And then how many people adopt to the other features that are interesting for sales. For instance, the deal rooms that we are offering, or the resource hubs that you can send out via email with all your resources bundled, basically. But that's what we upsell, because we realized for some products there is way too much education you need to make in order to sell them. So
Yep.
That's also a really interesting point, because we were struggling for a long time. Should we focus more on like the sales-led approach, on the product-led approach? And there was a metric that we were not keeping track of, so we were mixing it up the whole time. But now we found out that the best way to do it is like 70% inbound, let's say, and product-led growth motion, and 30% outbound for the enterprise accounts and for like larger accounts in general. But this is something that we had to find out a sweet spot for, because it's really the focus that was breaking our neck in the beginning, and we were developing too many features. Our marketing was not niched down; it wasn't very focused. But right now, we realize, okay, for the freelancers, for the lower ticket size, what we do is a whole PLG approach, and for the others, what we do is the sales-led approach. And this is actually working. But we had to find out through some time, like how you should split it up, and like where the route diverges, basically, because it's not as easy. Every deal is different. And there was something that, we were trying to get a hold of for a long time. And I don't know, like we were using HubSpot and we had those pipelines, but the pipelines didn't really fit. We had some clients that didn't want to book a demo. They just wanted to see the tool and maybe have like a little presentation and then just buy it. So it was not fitting in our pipeline, because we had one stage that was always the trial, and it was not really fitting. And all the playbooks that we wrote didn't really feel well, and we didn't know how much buying intention there really is if it's not, if we cannot place it inside this pipeline that we built. And at some point we realized those are not the right metrics to focus on, like in which artificial stage a company is. I don't know, it doesn't really matter. So what we did is we improved our product, and we made a mutual action plan with every lead that is interested. So after the discovery, basically is that when we are doing it, and we came up with this mutual action plan for every enterprise deal, and we assigned like deadlines to it. We invited all the stakeholders to this deal. So all the communication with all the stakeholders, external, internal, is being made inside this digital deal room, basically. And there we can see how many times they logged in, how many steps they looked at, how many resources they checked out. And this is actual data that we can use and see if there is any buying intent, or how big the buying intent is. Because if we see that, like, I don't know, a lead invited all the CEO, the CTO, the CMO to this deal space, everyone checked it out, and they looked at our deal space for 10 minutes, we know, okay, this is a hot lead and we need to focus on them.
That's really interesting. I like that. I like that approach. I think if I think back to when we had Todd Caponi on the show a couple of weeks back, and one of his recommendations is switching that the pipeline stages. And it doesn't work for every business, because if your CRO is not keen on it, it's not going to happen. But switching the pipeline stages from what do we need to do to get this customer through the pipeline to what does the customer need to do, what process do they need to go through to get signed off. That's actually a much more helpful approach. And it feels like you kind of did that through that deal space, which is, it's interesting to see that actually in action. Because, I think I'm a big believer that we forget that the customer needs to go through a process. We just become too focused on our own processes, and you forget what, like, the customer mindset's really important, right?
I mean, Of course, 100%, because we were looking at many studies as well, and we realized that Gartner is expecting the B2B buying process to be less, let's say, less sales driven. So people want to talk less to sales, they want to research on their own. So where's the benefit from sales coming? And I realized, okay, the only benefit that sales or that me as a seller or that our team as sellers can really provide is to structure the information that the buyer already has and help him make, decisions that are based on facts and not on feelings, basically. And how we can do this, a really good tip, and it's really hands-on as well. What we do is we offer them a checklist. And this checklist is based on our competitors and on our company, but we just tell them, if you can check all those boxes, you have a tool that is perfect, that will solve your problem. And I mean, obviously, this whole checklist is written so that our tool checks all those boxes and others may not, right? But this is actually helping the buyer because they have something that they can use, that they can evaluate other solutions, even though they are not, let's say, experts in this industry or in this field. And this is something that we can really help with. But it took some time to identify this as well. Because I think for every vertical, for every product, there's a different set of features that buyers actually care about, but they don't even know it. And they don't know what's important for them. They may see one feature that is important, but maybe lacking another. And, like when you talk to sales, maybe at some point you may not even realize it or forget about it, asking it. But with a checklist like this, you can make sure that, basically you can fill out the checklist for your competition and you will know that this competitor will not check this box, will not check that box. And you can say that we are the only tool that checks all those boxes. And we even know what we are doing because we can provide you with a checklist like this, right? So we have this expertise in order to really get that fit or that match. Because that's also something that I learned, right? Like you need to find the perfect match and not just try to sell your product to every lead that you find. That doesn't work. And it makes more trouble. I don't know if you realize it as well, but in customer success, we had so many tickets open because of people like these, right? Like people that we tried to sell on, but they didn't really have the problem. And this created so much work for us, that it doesn't make any economical sense in my point of view.
Yeah, talk about squeezing costs in a lot of businesses. Like I talk with a lot of consultants around transformation programs, things like that, and they talk about squeezing costs. And like the real danger is you get rid of a problem out of one department. So sales problem is we need to make more sales, so we're gonna just sell to everyone who comes through the doors. Oh, that's great, but it creates cost down the line. So that revenue turns into cost. And actually, the cost's probably more than the revenue you made in the first place by the time you add on all the tickets, repeat conversations, repeat chats, and then the bad reviews that you get out the back of it because you weren't what they needed. And that's not the client's feeling. That's the business's feeling for trying to sell. And I'm a big fan of make sure your clients are a right fit. Like I could probably sell 3 times for Javelin. I could probably sell 3 times as many client opportunities as I do, but I refuse to give up on the morals that I know are right. Like I can't promise you this. I can deliver this. We can't do that. We can deliver that, and that's who we are. And I refuse to shift from that, even though like my wife's like, well, how much money are you making this month, Paul? I'm like we're doing all right. We'll be doing better. So I guess if I'm going to pivot out of that a little bit, then Dominik, I want to go to some sort of slightly different questions. Then take your time on answering these, but. One of the questions I would probably ask you is if you could rewind 3 years ago and give yourself some advice and do things slightly differently, what would be the one thing that you would change that would have the biggest impact on your business right now?
So the biggest change I would do is I would validate the message in the first place and not build the product at all. I would create a landing page, I don't know, create some videos, anything like that, build a wait list and see how big the market wants it and who wants it. And if I can reach those people, that's what I would try. I would check the distribution. Is the distribution working of my content? And focus on the product afterwards. Because now I know I can build the products. I have a great team. But something that we didn't have in the beginning was this whole connection from messaging to product to the market. And I think that's real hard to get this right. I don't know. I think it's really hard.
That's perfect. And if you were going to then take your learnings that you've gotten to date, and obviously it's a journey, right? Everybody's on a journey, and we're all in different positions in that. If you were to talk to somebody who was selling a slightly different product, or a very different product even, what advice would you give them to make their business a success? What would be the things that you would advise them to focus on? Stay within the SaaS industry, but what's like a good generic issue that you've faced and solved that really helped?
I think building relationships on scale helps really, really well. And you need to find a way to do this in a meaningful way. Because obviously you can send out mass generated emails, even with some videos where you just change out, I don't know, the name or on a paper or something like that with AI, or you can even, I don't know, change the voice completely with AI. But people are not dumb. They get it, right? Like that it's not a unique video. And what I believe in is to scale the communication in a way where the touch points with the humans or with the persons are only there if they really need to be there and if they matter. So let's say you try to buy a B2B software product, you shouldn't be forced to talk to sales in order to know the price, in order to try a demo, and in order to sign up. But you should be able to book a call with sales if you are on the let's say pricing page inside the app, and you want to know if there is a discount for NGOs, or if you are not sure which plan is the right for you. Sure, there you should talk to sales immediately. Or if you are unsure about the product, if it really solves your issue, that's something I can really appreciate, and I could encourage people to do it. But I don't think it should be like gated and all these lead magnet phishing stuff. Everything that doesn't provide value, I would cut. In short, basically.
And if I'm gonna add anything to that, obviously I spent 3 years in a conversation analytics business, and I've seen firsthand the impacts that conversation analytics can have to businesses who are going through that pain. Is make sure you're analysing the conversations that you are having with your clients, because to your point, Dominik, if there's something in there that's been asked more than a few times, it should go in an FAQ so that people can find it themselves if they want to, and still have that avenue open. But what you're trying to do is reduce down the number of contacts that are unnecessary, because that's a big saving. A lot of businesses don't even appreciate how much money they save, or even just things like, understanding whether their team's apologising when they should be apologising. Like if you ask the team or you ask the team leader, they're going to say, we apologise. We always apologise properly. My team are great. And they're wonderful people. But people get involved in process as opposed to using their human brain and their emotions. And they're just busy trying to solve problems. They forget to apologise. They do all these sorts of things. If I'm going to give any advice to a business that's got a team of a reasonable size, it's start analysing both your spoken conversations and your emails and your web chats and your live chats, your AI bots, everything, and understand what's going on, because there's huge efficiencies to be made as your business grows. And you're much better off learning those before you grow the business than when you've already grown it. That's a really, I love that point, Dominik. That's a really interesting point. I think it's something that a lot of businesses can kind of take away and learn from.
Maybe one more thing. I think this can go really deep, right?
Yeah.
So talking to customers or to leads, especially in the beginning, it can help you get the messaging right, because you learn what words your customers are using, what words your leads are using. So for us, a calendar was always Gmail, Outlook, or whatever, right? But for our customers, a calendar is the booking page where they can book the meetings. But this is a completely different construct for me. When I first started talking to them, I was like, you mean Gmail, Google Calendar? What calendar do you mean? And they said, no, I mean Meet Ergo calendar. I said, yeah, but we don't even have a Meet Ergo calendar. Like, we don't have anything like this. They say, what? You don't have a calendar? What is your solution doing? And, this is confusing people at some point.
Yeah.
But you cannot only take it for the messaging. You can also take the intercom chats, chatbots, and stuff like that, and help customer success upsell. That's first thing. Plus help sales also in marketing to focus on the features or the problems that really matter right now. And that's something you can find out really, really fast. And I think the best way we found out is integrating a chatbot in through our app and just providing this support. And that's how you can get the messaging fast, I guess.
Perfect. I love it. Some great takeaways there, Dominik. Look, so we've come to the end of the show, so we've hit the kind of 30-minute mark. But Dominik, it's been fantastic chatting with you. Some really interesting takeaways from that. Some good stuff. Some good advice for people who are in that growth phase. How do people contact you if they want to reach out?
They can just hit me up on LinkedIn. It's Dominik Rapacki, Rapacki, or via email, dominik@meetergo.com. I think that's the easiest way.
Perfect. Thanks very much. And likewise, if you've enjoyed the episode, we've got more great guests lined up. There's a subscribe button. I'll make it appear after the show somewhere. Hit subscribe. It'd be good to hear your thoughts on the show. As ever, always open. If something that's been said in the show resonates with you, you disagree with it, we would love to hear from you in the feedback section. And if you do enjoy the podcast, please go pop onto redline-podcast.com, leave us a review, let us know what you think of the show. Much appreciated. Dominik, it's been a pleasure. Thanks very much.